And we're live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Whitfield Report. I am your host, Sam Whitfield, broadcasting live from South Florida here at the NGC studios. And my guest tonight is Ryan Marhoefer from
Marhoefer, yeah.
Marhoefer. Yeah, sorry. I should have asked you if I
It's
pronounced
everyone.
it right.
It's
Yeah.
everyone.
He is a college Republican from Chapman University out in California, and I believe that's where Hugh Hewitt is a professor as well, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, he teaches at our law school.
have you met him? I had the opportunity to meet him a few years ago. So
I haven't. I've had friends who've met him though.
yeah, he's a super nice guy. He's a super nice guy. I was disappointed that he didn't voice for Trump, but at the same time, he also has shown me a great deal of support. So, but anyway, Ryan, thank you for coming on the program. And you, sir, have a very interesting background yourself. Real quick before we dive into topics, I always just like to ask my guests a little bit of background on themselves. So just feel free to tell us about yourself and kind of what your background is, how you got started in politics, and et cetera, et cetera. So.
Yeah, well, I was never really politically active. My parents were never really that big into politics. I guess my grandparents were, but everyone's grandparents are. And in high school, I just started leaning right. I started looking into gun control, and I saw how many fallacious arguments there are for gun control, for those guns, or like super heavy regulation. Then I realized it was the same type of fallacious about abortion or immigration, or even when you talk about like race issues, police, different things like that. It's the same everywhere. And so that's just kind of what pushed me right, was my quest to find the facts, and I found that there's really only one side that seems to be on the side of the facts most of the time.
Interesting. Was there any like particular event that I guess pushed you to the right, or it just kind of happened?
There was never really like an eye-opening moment, I guess. When my article came out on Chapman, I wasn't involved with any political groups then, but after it came out and there was that big outrage over it and everything, I thought the Libertarian Club would contact me, or I thought maybe a Democrat club or something. It was only the Republican clubs that contacted me, and it was like every member of the Republican club.
Yeah, well, let's dive into that, since that's kind of what you're known for. I couldn't find the date or the byline when I first read it, which was weird. How long ago did you write that article?
It was the end of October 2017.
Okay, so it's still fairly recently, and folks, for those of you viewing this on Facebook live, you should be able to see I have Ryan's article here on my web browser if it'll open, and I'll include a link to this in the show notes as well. Basically, Ryan, why don't you explain a little bit for those listening on the audio podcast what your article was about? It's pretty fascinating, and I know you'll do it more justice than I could.
So the headline of the article was "Diversity of Skin Color is Nothing Compared to Diversity of Opinion," and that's a completely non-controversial thing to say, and I didn't think it was going to be that controversial. I made that headline my article was about diversity of opinion because I wanted to make it ironic when the newspaper refused to publish it. So it was like my intention was the newspaper is refusing to publish a non-controversial thing calling for all opinions to be heard.
Right. What prompted you to write the article in the first place?
So I had sent them in another article talking about phobias, and I said basically calling someone say a homophobia is non-productive because not only by labeling say like bigots, hateful bigots, by labeling them as victims of a phobia, you're lessening their hatred. And then by applying that same label to people who simply disagree with homosexuality and say, or I'm not that into it.
Right.
You're giving them the same label. It's just not productive. And they were like, they gave me a BS reason for why they wouldn't publish it. And I said, okay, fair game. I'll play your game. So then I wrote the next article.
Yeah. And then, interestingly enough, your website, Google Chrome, is not wanting to load your article all of a sudden, even though I just had it up here a few minutes ago. So, that's oddly kind of suspicious, but maybe it's just maybe it's just tech issues too. I don't know, but regardless, it seems interesting to me, and I'll link the article for people in the show notes so they can view anyway. But I was reading some of the comments that a lot of people made. Some of them were good, but the vast majority of them were, just ones accusing you of white supremacy. I guess. What were some of the other ones? Some of them were just ridiculous.
White supremacy, white privilege, uneducated white boy, cis white male, just like all that different stuff.
I want to say there was one calling for you to get beaten up or even killed, but I don't know if that was actually in the comments. But either way, there were some pretty bad ones. Also,
yeah, there was different stuff on Facebook and Twitter too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, Chapman University, in terms of universities out in California, obviously everyone knows that UC Berkeley is far left, but Chapman, if they have professors like Hugh Hewitt, I imagine that they. Well, I mean, it's a university, so I suppose it's still somewhat liberal, but, I mean, I don't know. How liberal would you say Chapman is?
Majority of students and faculty are liberal.
Okay, yeah,
but you'll be hard-pressed to find a university that isn't.
Right, so it's not Berkeley bad, but it's still pretty bad. Yeah. So after you got at the backlash, how did you respond? How did your family respond? Did you have to take did you have to get protection or anything like that? Or
So in the article I talked about how in the quest for inclusion and diversity, voices were being shut down, like Ben Shapiro. That's a very simple example. Like, he was banned from UCLA for a period of time, and then they got it back. And I said, this is happening on campuses, it's done in the name of inclusion, and it's bad. And then people thought I was talking about purely Chapman University, and Chapman University does that. And Chapman University is actually one of the better examples of universities in America.
Right.
Real quick comment that said, just so you know, I was talking about campuses nationally in America, not Chapman University, which I thought was already pretty clear, but just to get rid of any other confusion. And then I said I was arguing for diversity of opinion. I'm not a racist. Hate me if you wish, in the comment. And that was the only comment that I had said, even because I wasn't going to respond to all. Was it at now 210?
Yeah, and it's gotten like some. I mean, I get pretty ridiculous comments too. You can't respond to them all. So
yeah, and then after those comments came out, so it was published on a Sunday night. It got flooded with comments Sunday night, like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., all that stuff. Monday morning, all that. And my first class was 2:30, I think. So I wasn't going to be on campus until later in the day. Someone messaged me on Facebook who is liberal, and he was like, hey, just so you know, I heard my liberal friends talking about ganging up against you on campus. And so I was like, oh, crap, like, this can actually, like, end up in me being physically hurt.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to go, but then I have a friend who's like in conservative media and all that, and he said, no, Ryan, go. It's going to be a huge story and a great story if you go, if people beat you up for calling for all opinions to be heard. So I was like, I'll bite the bullet. I'll take one for the team, and I'll risk myself. But nobody came up to me and said anything. I got a lot of dirty looks from people who I could tell wouldn't have liked me even without the article. But besides that, everybody's big and bad on the internet, but nobody wants to say anything to me in person.
Yeah, well, the other thing too, there's that, but then you're also lucky that you don't have any anti, or I mean, I don't want to jinx you, but I mean, as far as you know, there aren't any Antifa people.
No. Yeah,
so.
so Chapman isn't. I mean, Chapman has some pretty radical stuff, but it's not like. And we do have communists and all that, but it's not. I don't think it's really turned violent.
Yeah.
And also all my classes were in the business school, which helps.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So they're pretty much all capitalists anyway. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so I'm a little confused. So did you write the article post Milo, or I mean post Shapiro? Because I know that yeah. Oh.
Both. I wrote it both post Milo and Shapiro, and I mentioned them both in my article about how they both were not allowed on campuses because, and the reasoning was these guys are dangerous, they're non-inclusive, so we must use violence, or we must just ban their speech.
Yeah, which is absurd because I mean Ben is I love Ben Shapiro as well. I mean I know that he and Milo hate each other's guts, but I actually like them both. I've never met Ben, but I actually had him on my show back right after.
That's pretty cool.
Right after Andrew Breitbart died, so he wasn't he wasn't quite as famous. But I mean, I like him, and I like Milo too. The notion that either of those two guys would be violent in any way is just
yeah. If you've seen
absurd.
Ben Shapiro in real life, if he's starting a fight, he's not winning it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, he would probably just out argue everyone, and they would be like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah, for sure. The guy's a genius.
Yeah. Well, he has like I think he has like an IQ of like 200 or something.
Yeah,
so,
I don't doubt it.
So,
it's up there.
Yeah, I mean, he went to Harvard Law School when he was like 14. So
yeah,
yeah. So and I mean Milo's somewhat of a troll, but he's also brutally intellectual too. So and Milo is actually kind of interestingly enough, folks. For those of you who don't know, apparently Milo screenshotted my Facebook profile on his Snapchat, it was Instagram.
Yeah, and
yeah, which I had which I had sent him a friend request on his personal profile like 5, maybe 6 months ago, and he still hasn't accepted it. He hasn't done anything with it, but apparently he looked at it on the same tab as the Weekly Standard, which that part was kind of insulting because I don't like Bill Crystal very much. So to be in the same tab as his publication, I mean, it was cool, but and as a result, here we are. But anyway, you mentioned that gun control is one topic that you're interested in as well, and obviously in the news this week and last week we have the Florida shooting, which is in my neck of the woods. Unfortunately, I'm not super close to that area, but I mean, what do you make of that and all the politics going around that?
Yeah, I mean, it's just what it seems like people are doing is they're taking an emotional something very simple like ban all guns or ban all AR-15s, and then everybody cheers and they feel like a good person without actually producing anything. Which is, if you saw the town hall of the sheriff of that county with Dana Loesch, and it was so sad how you saw the sheriff look Dana Loesch in her eyes and say, no, the NRA was at fault for this. The NRA is a bad group of people and we need to regulate guns and all this stuff, when really it was his sheriff department that waited outside while the shooter was killing kids.
Yeah.
It was his department that received calls tens of times and didn't act on it. Then when there was the actual shooting, they waited outside. And I think one guy quit because he felt so bad, and he should have because he let kids die. Right.
Well, I mean, so I didn't see the whole town hall because it was lengthy, and I don't have cable either, so I stream everything online. But I saw that clip, and I mean, I hate to say, I was talking to a friend about this on the phone yesterday, and I mean, part of me does feel guilty because when I heard about this shooting, normally the first thing that people think, and that they rightly should, is oh my God, how sad and how tragic.
Mm-hmm.
But we're at the point now where, I don't know about you, but my first reaction was not, this is sad, but, oh great, this is going to be another attempt to politicize this and turn a gun grab. And I mean,
yeah.
And I mean, I feel really crappy for thinking that and feeling that, but at the same time, it's like, well, that's kind of where we're at. And, and what's even more, I guess, frightening to me isn't so much, I mean, the gun control thing is scary, but what's even more scary is all these conservatives who have been speaking out against, the sheriff's office and the whole CNN town hall thing that they did on Twitter. A lot of them, I don't know if you've heard, but they've gotten shadow.
Oh, have they shadow banned?
Well, I mean, part of it might be Alex Jones, InfoWars conspiracy stuff. I will say that there were some pretty notable, conservative commentators in our ilk who were saying that they had their accounts limited on Twitter and that they were restricted, and supposedly Twitter's whole excuse is that they're trying to clean out Russian bots, and that's been their whole narrative for months now.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know if that's true or not. So I mean, it's just,
it's not.
Yeah. what do you think of Trump's reaction? And just kind of moving on to another topic, how do you think he's doing as president as a whole?
Well, Trump's reaction could have been the biggest news story, bigger than the gun shooting, and it wasn't.
Right.
Because if he had one step out of line, CNN would have gobbled it up and broadcast it 24/7, and then not broadcast their kids, their select few.
Right.
And but he didn't. He actually proposed gun control. He listened to the victims. He listened. He visited the other victims in hospitals. He did everything he needs to do, and then he actually proposed a solution, which was more extensive background checks, and I think he wants it fully done.
Yeah, well, and he wants I guess bump stocks banned, which to me actually doesn't seem like that bad of an idea from what I've read. I mean, here's the thing that's also really I kind of feel bad for Trump, because on the one hand, I think what he's actually being pretty sensible, but at the same time, now you kind of have both the hard right and the hard left. The hard left is obviously saying that he's not doing enough, but even some of the, I'm not a gun owner. I'm not as much of a gun expert as some other people. I believe in the Second Amendment, but at the same time, I don't think what he's proposing in terms of, stricter background checks, I don't think that's all that outrageous, and it doesn't seem like he can win with either side. But, I guess when you're president, you get put into those situations as well. So.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the bump stocks thing. It's like a novelty, but I'd rather lose the bump stocks than lose the AR-15.
Right. Well, right. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where you lose one, it's kind of a slippery slope.
Yeah.
I was also listening to Joe Rogan's podcast today. I don't know if you know who he is.
I know who Joe Rogan is.
Yeah, I assume you would. He's talked about this before on his podcast, but the amount of people on antipsychotics and medications too is really something that I think more than anything, and I've said this even when there haven't been any shootings, the amount of prescription drug commercials just in general, and the pharmaceutical industry is, it's insane. Especially for antidepressants and antipsychotics. So, I think if we ought to regulate anything, it's the FDA and the drug industry, but that's just me. So.
Yeah, I'm fine if the FDA gets slashed in half so we can actually get some drugs passed and get a little competition in that market. But, with the drugs, I think Milo Yiannopoulos actually did an article about it a few years ago. I have it bookmarked. I could send it to you. It's a really good article, and he takes every mass shooter since like the Virginia Tech shootings, and it's every mass shooter who wasn't doing it in the name of Allah, and they were on psychotropic drugs or psychotropic, however you say it.
Yeah,
drugs that affected their their view on reality, the distinction between right and wrong, and every single one of them was on some different type of drug. And he said it's almost as if America is replacing parenting and an acceptance that boys are naturally boisterous and more active than girls with pills.
Yeah.
So, this boy is active, he must have something. Here's a prescription.
Well, and I'm a few years older than you. I'm 23 and you're 19.
Yeah,
right?
I just turned 20.
Oh, so happy belated birthday.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, I just turned 23, but yeah.
Birthday.
Thank you. But our generation, the millennials, we were the first ones, I really feel like, in terms of the boys to, I mean, I know people in my kindergarten class who were on Ritalin, and all
Wow.
those focus drugs. And I mean, from what my mother tells me, the teachers wanted to put me on it, but she threatened to sue the school district if they did. So,
Good.
luckily I was never on any of that crap. Okay, we have a couple of comments. One of our viewers on Facebook wants to know, Matt. He wants to know what your opinion on abortion is, just kind of on and off the topic.
So, abortion, I actually wrote an op-ed about this one too. If you just Google my name, you'll find
Yeah.
it was the first one I ever did. And my view has evolved a little past that time, which was a little over a year ago, I think.
Uh-huh.
But anyways, I think life does begin at conception. You are killing a human being, just one that's less developed than you are. That's just the fact of the matter. Accept it. And then I'm fine if we ban all abortion, 100%. But realistically speaking, I think the best way to do it is ban abortion for those who do it out of convenience and allow abortion for incest and rape and stuff like that. I think that's the best compromise. I think that's the only that we can go in America.
Yeah, kind of go the Bill Clinton way of which is ironic, but the Bill Clinton policy of few and safe but few. So yeah, I mean that was one question. We don't have any others at the moment. What other do you have any other topics that you would like to bring up? Anything that kind of has been on your mind in terms of politics?
Well, you asked me about Trump's performance
overall.
besides the shooting, and that's actually what my next article is about.
Yeah.
Hopefully it gets published. I keep emailing them. I'm like, hey, just by the way, it's going to be published tomorrow or Monday, right? Right? And they haven't responded yet. But that's what my article is about. I think it's far better than anyone expected. If you look at the articles back in 2016, before Trump was elected and after, before he was in office, every article was predicting apocalypse. Mark Cuban said he was 100% sure the markets were going to crash. There was Kurt Eichenwald, I think is his name. He sold his kids' college savings funds. He said, I can't trust it, the Trump economy, which is sad because his kids just lost out on a lot of money for college. Yeah, people were saying he's going to start World War III.
Yep.
Started, and they're saying, he's going to get new North Korea to bomb us. He's going to make relations so much worse. Then the South Korean president credits Trump for renewing talks between South and North Korea. Trump gets the economy back. Dow Jones is having the best run since FDR. Unemployment is at a 17-year low. Black and Hispanic unemployment is at the lowest levels ever. Food stamps are down by 2 million. It was like a 10 million increase under Obama, which is ridiculous. Obama just grew the states. Trump is downsizing the economy. He's getting rid of federal employees. I think Obama hired like 250,000 federal employees during his time, just totally increasing the bureaucratic authoritarian state, which is never in the benefit of the citizen.
Right.
I mean, the economy is really a huge thing. Illegal immigration, he's finally not limiting which laws ICE can enforce, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and Border Patrol. You can only enforce these laws. You can only deport them if they're a felon or like been convicted of 3 crimes or whatever it was. Now he's saying if they've been convicted, go. If you catch them, have them go. So yeah, I think border crossings are down at a 45-year low. Illegal border crossings, that is. Yeah, I think ICE arrested like over 100,000 people, and 92% of them were criminals or were fugitives and different things like that. They have all the statistics on it. I put it in my Reddit. I reread my article a million times, so that's why I'm just getting these figures automatically. I mean, he destroyed ISIS. ISIS is done. Obama struggled so much with ISIS, and Trump, because Trump is an honest man, and he knows when he doesn't know everything. And so what Trump did was he delegated authority. He gave it to the Pentagon. He gave it to generals. Mattis said, like, the military finally has its power back. And he said, you guys know what to do. I don't.
Yeah.
So Obama was an overeducated community organizer. He said, no, I know. I know what's best. Trump said, I'm a businessman from Queens. You guys went to West Point. You guys saw combat. You know what's best. So he said, you guys go, send out special forces, go raid houses, direct airstrikes, work with the Kurds or the Syrian rebels or the Iraqis or whatever. Every ISIS stronghold has been freed. I think ISIS has a few towns left, and that's it. But the caliphate has been destroyed. The Islamic State has been destroyed, which is great. Many people said that ISIS was going to be a generations-long thing. But actually, in all that time it took Bush to get rid of Al-Qaeda or the Taliban, and all that time it took Obama to get rid of ISIS, Trump was able to do what they were never really fully able to do in 1 year.
Well, I mean, some people...
It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Some people, and I don't fully agree with this, but I see where people are coming from. But there are those people who say that, Obama and Hillary created ISIS, and I think...
Well, Obama inadvertently armed ISIS.
Right, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Right, yeah. I think to say that he created ISIS is a bit far fetched, but yeah, he definitely armed some of the radicals indirectly. He also armed a lot of the a lot of people don't remember with Fast and Furious. Early on in his administration, he also armed a lot of the drug lords in Mexico, and now Mexico is like, it's like Narcos all over again. So,
yeah, no, there were border patrol agents that were killed with the weapons that Obama had given to these gangs. And the reason was because he wanted to track the movement of the guns and see if they came back into America.
Yeah.
Why do you care, buddy? We know guns are coming in from Mexico. The majority of illegal guns coming from Mexico.
Well, and it's
build a wall if you want to end that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Build a wall. That's the other thing is. Do you think Trump is going to build the wall, or I know?
Oh, he has to.
Yeah.
He won't be reelected if he doesn't.
Well, I know. Yeah.
The foundation of his entire political career.
Yeah. Well, that and MAGA babes too, and all that. So, yeah. I mean, in terms of the wall, I definitely know he's going to build it. I've told people though, I think they should calm down just a bit, because, I mean, obviously building a wall, and in order to make it efficient and whatnot, is going to take some time, and I guess they're working on designs.
Yeah, so what I guess they're going to do is they're going to have, like, the first 10 feet or whatever be poles, like pole-shaped, like diamonds, I guess. And they're going to be, like, thick steel or something. And they're also going to go underground, to stop people from tunneling under. And then there's going to be concrete for, like, the next 10 feet above the poles.
Yeah. I saw a funny meme earlier today that Trump is watching the pole vaulters in the Olympics to see how high
That's funny.
to see how high the Mexicans can jump. So yeah, he'll definitely have to check for that too. But yeah, I mean, I certainly think, I mean, what a lot of people forget too with the wall is, we'd stop. It's not just immigrants coming from Mexico. I mean, it's a lot of people coming in from the Middle East to, and changing their appearance to look Hispanic and whatnot.
Yep.
I mean,
Exactly.
yeah,
And it's not just Mexico, it's every country below Mexico, and none of them are necessarily good countries.
right. So,
In fact, Mexico has been fed up with America's tougher border control because now they're complaining of all these criminals and rapists and whatnot getting stuck in Mexico, getting stuck in their neighborhoods.
right. Well, I mean, basically, Vicente Fox, I can't remember if it was Vicente Fox or one of the Mexican presidents, basically admitted that Mexico's prison population is so overwhelmed that basically they just dump their felons into our country and other countries, which is...
Yeah, like the Mariel boat lift.
Yeah, which is lovely.
Fidel did.
So,
Yeah.
I say that with complete sarcasm, so...
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, in terms of policy, Trump can't, he hasn't done anything that I could disagree with so far in terms of policy. And I think Scott Adams pointed out a few months ago that all of the complaints that, people have on Trump is all based on stuff that he, tweets out or says and whatnot. And, I do think that early on he could be a bit of a loudmouth and whatnot, but he's definitely becoming more presidential. I would argue that he might not be as charismatic sounding as Obama was, but he also sounds more presidential. So
I think he definitely conveys more authority and more success.
Yeah. In terms of the election and just political activism, what do you think really helped conservatives win the election, and what do you think that conservatives need to do better in terms of activism going forward?
I think there were two things that really helped us win in 2016 and also Congress in 2014, I think, were the big years. And I think it's two things: Obama and the Tea Party. The Tea Party was such a unique movement. It got all these people of all these different colors, races, income classes, income brackets, and brought all these people together over taxes, American strength, and it was just such a solid grassroots movement.
Yeah. That was kind of when I started, getting really involved when I was in high school. That was definitely a great time to be involved. It was hard when Obama got reelected in 2012, and especially after Breitbart died. But I feel kind of like that's also kind of when Milo stepped in, and I mean he's a lot more recent, but I mean he's been huge with a lot of the younger kids coming up, and it's great to see them.
Trump would have ever put pressure on Berkeley or even have talked about free speech on any campus if it wasn't for Milo and the riotous response he got literally at Berkeley in last February.
Yeah. Now, I will say that I think the one setback that we did suffer was with the quote-unquote alt-right in...
Yeah. The alt-right, all that really is what the Democrat Party was in Woodrow Wilson's day.
Right. I mean, in Richard Spencer, who I absolutely detest. I actually end up debating more of his ilk than actually liberals. But he was like back in 2000 or whatever. I guess he fully admits that he was a full on Democrat. So and a full on
that would make sense.
Lefty. So yeah. In fact, I guess he crashed CPAC, and he was yesterday, and he was advocating for some white socialist like healthcare system. So
yeah, but the thing with the alt-right is that the alt-right actually was just mischievous conservative guys on the internet making memes and pissing off really sensitive liberals.
yeah,
And then the alt-right, the alt-right, the alt-right. And then they kept hyping it up. They're like saying, this is the alt-right. It's a place for racists to come. Don't join it. And then all these racists started saying, oh, I'm alt-right. Because they're for them.
yeah.
When it really wasn't. But then it just became overtaken.
Yeah, well, it's also like Gavin McInnes said a few months ago too, which I thought was an interesting perspective. All of these guys who weren't previously racist, like Baked Alaska is kind of a perfect example. He wasn't really racist, and then people kept saying you're racist, you're racist, you're racist, and he kind of had like a mental breakdown or whatever, and just said, okay, yeah, fuck it, I am,
Yeah.
like, so, yeah, that's kind of how that whole.
But Milo hasn't had that breakdown at all.
Oh no,
Milo talks about it, talks against it every single time it's brought up, and people still say it. They're hoping that it'll eventually become true if they say it enough.
Well, I assume if you're as much of a Milo fan as, I know that you're a big Milo fan, and I know I'm a Milo fan. So I mean, obviously, I think you've read his book. He spends an entire chapter in that book on what the alt-right is versus what it's supposed to be. So. All right, Ryan. Well, I know you have other things to do tonight, so I want to thank you for coming on.
Wow, that went by quickly.
The program, yeah, just 40 minutes roughly, and anything. Where can we find you online? What's your Twitter handle, and do you have like a blog or anything?
Well, you can find me on Twitter. Just type in Ryan Marhoefer. And Marhoefer is spelled Marhoefer, and I'll pop up. I kind of just retweet a lot of good news stuff that I don't think a lot of people have seen. I'll tweet some stuff myself. I used to tweet a lot. I just don't a lot anymore. You can add me on Facebook, I suppose, or Instagram. Just search my name again for any of those. Or you can find me in my school newspaper. Hopefully I'll be publishing there soon. I applied to be an editor for the newspaper, but everyone on the staff hates me. I don't know if I'll get the job. But yeah, I'd say check The Panther online. The Panther as in the animal. ThePantherOnline.com. Check it Monday and see if there's an article by me there. We'll see if they keep their word. Yeah. Or you can find my one there. You can just search my name on Google and it'll pop up pretty quickly. Then I wrote an article for the College Fix to everything that happened. That was more a response to those who called me white privileged, and that's why I should just shut up and I shouldn't have an opinion whatsoever. So I responded to sort of that false accusation. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, well, I saw that. Well, if you don't mind staying after the show for a bit, I perhaps have a way that we could get the article out there if your newspaper won't take it. But anyway, folks.
Okay. That'd be great.
Thanks for listening to the program and watching on Facebook Live, and we will see you next week, and I'll announce my guests on the audio segment of the podcast after this, and thank you for tuning in, guys, and good night.
Thank you for having me.